Think about it. Powerful women commanding respect, running vast organizations, even influencing kings, not queens, not princesses, but abbesses. They lived within the walls of their abbeys, yet their reach stretched far beyond. Did you know some French abbesses from the 6th to the 17th century controlled huge territories, commanded armies, or advised the most powerful people in Europe? Prepare to uncover the incredible stories of 5 women who truly shaped history, showing that power came in many forms, even under a veil. Number 5. Gabrielle de Rochechouart de Mortemart, the Abbess of Wit and Courtly Might. The year is 1670. France is at the height of its power, under the reign of King Louis XIV, the Sun King. His court at Versailles is the center of the world, a dazzling display of wealth, fashion, and intricate social maneuvers. But deep within this glittering world, away from the ballrooms and hunting parties, a different kind of power was being exercised, a power rooted in ancient traditions and modern connections, all from within the quiet yet immensely influential walls of an abbey. This is the story of Gabrielle de Rochechouart de Mortemart, the Abbess of Fontevraud. Gabrielle was born into one of France's oldest and most illustrious noble families, the House of Rochechouart. Her father was Gabrielle de Rochechouart, Duke of Mortemart, and her mother was Diane de Grandseine. From her birth in 1633, Gabrielle was destined for a life of privilege, but also one of profound expectation. Her family's lineage stretched back centuries, intertwined with the very fabric of French aristocracy. This meant access, education, and connections that most people could only dream of. But Gabrielle was not just born to a grand name. She possessed an exceptional mind, a sharp wit, and a deep appreciation for the arts and sciences. Unlike many noble daughters who might be married off young, Gabrielle chose a different path, one that would allow her intellect to flourish and her influence to grow. She entered the religious life, a common yet powerful choice for aristocratic women of her time. It was not just about piety. It was a pathway to immense administrative and social power. In 1670, at the relatively young age of 37, Gabrielle de Rochechouart de Mortemart was appointed Abbess of Fontevraud. This was no ordinary appointment. Fontevraud was not just any abbey. It was the most prestigious female monastic institution in all of France. Founded in the 11th century, it was unique in that it was a double monastery, meaning it housed both monks and nuns, but was always led by a woman, the abbess. The Abbess of Fontevraud commanded not only spiritual authority over her vast community, but also temporal authority over immense lands, estates, and a significant number of people. Fontevraud was practically a principality, its abbess a sovereign ruler within her own domain. Kings and queens of France had revered Fontevraud for centuries, often choosing it as their final resting place. Eleanor of Aquitaine, one of the most powerful women in medieval Europe, was buried there. This historical weight alone gave the Abbess of Fontevraud immense prestige. Gabrielle's appointment was not just due to her piety or intellect alone. She had a secret weapon, a connection that reached directly into the Sun King's inner circle. Her sister, Françoise, Renée de Rochechouart de Mortemart, better known to history as Madame de Montespan. Madame de Montespan was Louis XIV's chief mistress, the unofficial queen of Versailles, wielding extraordinary influence over the king in court life. Her word could make or break careers, determine fortunes, and shape policies. This direct line to the center of power gave Abbess Gabrielle an unparalleled advantage. Through her sister, Gabrielle became a powerful force at court, even from a distance. While she largely remained at Fontevraud, focused on the administration of her abbey, her family connections meant that royal favors, significant sums of money, and political support often flowed in her direction. She was not just an abbess. She was a member of the powerful Mortemart clan, linked to the very peak of the French state. Gabrielle was renowned for her refined manners and her sharp wit. She was a woman of letters, cultivating a salon at Fontevraud that attracted intellectuals, writers, and artists. Even from her monastic retreat, she engaged with the philosophical and literary trends of her time. She corresponded with leading figures, providing patronage and intellectual leadership. Her intelligence was often praised, even by those outside her immediate circle. Her reputation as an educated, articulate woman added another layer to her authority. Under her leadership, Fontevraud flourished. She oversaw vast estates, managing their complex economies, revenues, and personnel. The abbey was a major landowner, collecting rents, managing farms, and exercising feudal rights over many villages and their inhabitants. She was responsible for the spiritual well-being of hundreds of nuns and monks, enforcing discipline, overseeing daily rituals, and ensuring the smooth running of this vast religious machine. She also undertook significant architectural projects, improving the abbey's buildings and making them more suitable for the community. These were not small tasks. They required sharp administrative skills, a keen understanding of finance, and firm leadership. One notable example of her influence was her ability to secure funds and privileges for Fontevraud. Through her sister's intervention, the abbey received generous royal grants, ensuring its prosperity. This wasn't just about personal enrichment. It was about ensuring the continued functioning and grandeur of one of France's most important religious institutions. When disputes arose, and they frequently did in a complex feudal society, Gabrielle could leverage her family's prestige and her sister's influence to gain favorable outcomes. A simple letter or a quiet word from Madame de Montespan to the king could resolve issues that would otherwise drag on for years in endless legal battles. Gabrielle de Rochechouart de Mortemart ruled Fontevraud for 32 years, until her death in 1704. She was not merely a spiritual leader but a formidable administrator, a cultural patron, and the key figure in the extended network of power that surrounded Louis XIV's court. Her power was a blend of ancient ecclesiastical authority, immense wealth, and direct family connections to the highest levels of the French monarchy. She showed how even within the confines of an abbey a woman could wield truly immense power, shaping not just her community but influencing the broader landscape of French society and politics. Number 4. Renée de Bourbon, the royal abbess who fought for her rights. The early 16th century in France was a whirlwind of ambition, art, and warfare. King Francis I, a true Renaissance monarch, dominated the scene. But behind the grand tournaments and military campaigns, another kind of power was being exercised, often quietly, but sometimes with a roar. This is the story of Renée de Bourbon, the Abbess of Fontevraud, a woman who wielded power not just through her royal blood, but through her sheer determination and formidable legal mind. Renée de Bourbon was born around 1494, a member of the powerful house of Bourbon-Montpensier. This was a princely branch of the Bourbon family, directly related to the royal house of Valois, which ruled France. Her father was Gilbert, Count of Montpensier, and her mother was Chiara Gonzaga, from a prominent Italian noble family. This meant Renée was a first cousin of the future King Francis I. Her lineage instantly placed her among the most elite of French society, granting her automatic access to court and influence that few others possessed. Like many aristocratic daughters of her time, Renée was destined for a prominent position within the church. It was a strategic choice, providing a powerful, respected, and often wealthy alternative to marriage. In 1509, at the age of just 15, she was appointed Abbess of Fontevraud. This was the same illustrious abbey that Gabrielle de Rochechouart de Mortemart would later lead, a unique double monastery where the abbess held authority over both nuns and monks and controlled vast estates. To be Abbess of Fontevraud was to be a sovereign in all but name, ruling over a small, wealthy territory with considerable legal and financial autonomy. Renée's reign as abbess, which lasted for over 5 decades, was marked by her unwavering commitment to her abbey and her community and her fierce defense of its rights and privileges. Fontevraud, despite its prestige, often faced challenges to its authority and its extensive landholdings. Local lords, rival religious orders, and even royal officials sometimes tried to encroach upon its ancient liberties. Renée was not one to back down. She met these challenges head-on, using her royal connections, her sharp legal mind, and her formidable personal resolve. One of the most significant examples of her power lay in her relentless pursuit of justice for Fontevraud. She was deeply involved in countless lawsuits and legal battles, meticulously overseeing her abbey's legal defense. She understood the intricacies of feudal law and the royal courts. When the abbey's lands were threatened or its traditional rights were disputed, Renée personally intervened, dispatching her agents, writing letters, and even appealing directly to the king in his highest courts. Her determination in these matters was legendary, showing a level of shrewdness and tenacity that defied the stereotype of a cloistered nun. Her connections to King Francis I were invaluable. As his cousin, she had a direct line to the monarch. She was able to present the abbey's petitions, explain its grievances, and secure royal decrees that upheld Fontevraud's ancient privileges. Francis I, recognizing her position and lineage, often favored the abbey in disputes, granting it protection and confirming its rights. This was a clear demonstration of how personal relationships, at the highest levels of power, translated into tangible benefits for the institutions she commanded. Beyond legal battles, Renée was also a dedicated reformer within her own order. The period she lived in was a time of religious ferment, with calls for reform sweeping across Europe. Renée understood the need for strict adherence to monastic rule and discipline. She worked to purify the monastic life at Fontevraud, reinforcing traditional vows and practices. She sought to ensure that the abbey remained a beacon of spiritual devotion, even as it navigated the complexities of temporal power. This internal strength and discipline were crucial for maintaining the abbey's reputation and its standing in the eyes of both the church and the monarchy. Her administrative skills were equally impressive. Fontevraud was a massive operation, a self-sustaining economic powerhouse. Renée managed its vast agricultural lands, its vineyards, its forests, and its numerous tenant farmers. She oversaw the collection of tithes and rents, the disbursement of funds, and the maintenance of the abbey's extensive properties. This required a profound understanding of economics, management, and personnel. She was not just a spiritual leader. She was the CEO of a complex, sprawling enterprise. Renée de Bourbon also used her power for patronage. She supported the arts and crafts, investing in the beautification of the abbey church and its various chapels. She maintained a significant library and encouraged intellectual pursuits within the community. Her leadership helped to ensure that Fontevraud remained not only a religious center but also a hub of culture and learning. She died in 1557, having served as abbess for 48 years. Her long tenure was a testament to her stability, her administrative prowess, and her deep roots in the French royal family. Renée de Bourbon was a formidable woman who effectively leveraged her noble birth, her sharp intellect, and her unyielding spirit to protect and strengthen one of France's most powerful institutions. Her story shows that power in the 16th century could be found in the combination of piety, legal acumen, and direct access to the monarch, allowing an abbess to shape the destiny of hundreds of lives and vast territories. Number 3. Isabelle de Bourbon, the pious princess who wielded diplomatic clout. The 15th century in France was a period of recovery and transition. The 100 Years' War had left deep scars, but new forms of political and social organization were emerging. Kings were consolidating their power, and great noble families vied for influence. In this intricate dance of power, some women, through their religious vocations, found unique avenues to command respect and exert influence. This is the story of Isabelle de Bourbon, the Abbess of Maubuisson, a woman whose piety was matched only by her diplomatic skill and her powerful family connections. Isabelle de Bourbon was born in 1434, a member of the powerful house of Bourbon-Vendôme. Her father was Louis I, Count of Vendôme, a prominent French nobleman and military leader. Her lineage placed her among the highest echelons of the French aristocracy. The Bourbons were not just wealthy landowners, they were deeply intertwined with the royal family and played a crucial role in the kingdom's political landscape. This noble birthright gave Isabelle an inherent status and a network of influence from the very beginning of her life. From a young age, Isabelle demonstrated a profound spiritual inclination. Unlike many noble women who embraced monastic life out of political necessity or social convention, Isabelle appeared genuinely devoted to a life of piety and contemplation. She chose to enter the Cistercian monastery of Maubuisson, located just north of Paris. This was a significant abbey, founded in the 13th century by Blanche of Castile, the powerful mother of Saint Louis IX. Maubuisson held a special place in royal patronage and was known for its strict adherence to the Cistercian rule. In 1453, Isabelle was elected Abbess of Maubuisson, a position she would hold for nearly 4 decades. As abbess, Isabelle was the spiritual and temporal ruler of a significant institution. Maubuisson owned extensive lands, collected revenues, and had its own administration. The abbess was responsible for the spiritual guidance of her community of nuns, the management of the abbey's vast estates, and the defense of its rights and privileges. This required not only spiritual authority, but also shrewd administrative and legal skills. Isabelle's true power, however, extended far beyond the walls of Maubuisson. Her family connections, particularly to her brother Jean VIII, Count of Vendôme, gave her a unique standing. Jean was a key figure in the French court, a trusted advisor to King Louis XI. This direct line to the monarch meant that Isabelle was often sought out for her counsel, not just on spiritual matters but on political ones as well. She became a discreet yet highly effective intermediary in courtly affairs. One significant example of her diplomatic influence came during times of tension and conflict between various noble factions, or between the nobility and the crown. Isabelle, with her reputation for piety and her unimpeachable integrity, was often seen as a neutral and trusted party. Her advice was respected, and her ability to mediate disputes was invaluable. She would receive emissaries, read letters, and offer her perspectives, helping to smooth over disagreements and foster reconciliation. Her abbey became a safe haven for private conversations and sensitive negotiations, a place where rival factions could meet in relative peace. Her power was also evident in her ability to secure significant patronage for Maubuisson. Through her brother's influence and her own reputation, the abbey received generous donations and confirmations of its privileges from the king and other powerful nobles. This financial support allowed her to maintain and improve the abbey's buildings, support its charitable endeavors, and ensure the well-being of her community. She was known for her careful management of the abbey's finances, ensuring its prosperity and stability. Isabelle de Bourbon was also a patron of the arts and learning. She fostered a vibrant intellectual and spiritual atmosphere within Maubuisson. The nuns under her care were well educated, and the abbey's library was maintained and expanded. She saw the importance of both practical skills and spiritual growth for her community. Her leadership ensured that Maubuisson remained a respected center of Cistercian life and learning. Furthermore, Isabel's personal piety was a source of great power. In an era when spiritual devotion held immense sway, her reputation as a holy woman gave her a moral authority that transcended mere noble status. People, from peasants to princes, sought her prayers and her counsel. Her sincerity and dedication to her vows amplified her influence, making her a figure of profound respect. She passed away in 1493 after almost 40 years as abbess. Isabelle de Bourbon exemplified how a woman could wield immense power through a combination of religious authority, aristocratic connections, and personal character. Her abbacy at Maubuisson was a testament to her administrative skill, her diplomatic acumen, and her profound spiritual influence, showing that even within the confines of a monastery, a princess could shape the political and social landscape of her time. Number 2. Héloïse d'Argenteuil, the scholar abbess who forged a spiritual empire. The 12th century in France was a period of intense intellectual ferment and profound religious devotion. Great cathedrals were rising, universities were forming, and brilliant minds debated the very nature of faith and reason. In this dynamic era, a woman of extraordinary intellect and fierce independence emerged, one whose story would resonate through the centuries even as she built a powerful monastic community. This is the story of Héloïse d'Argenteuil, the Abbess of the Paraclete, a woman who wielded immense power through her intellect, her leadership, and her unwavering spirit. Héloïse was born around 1100, likely into a modest Parisian family, though some accounts suggest a more noble background. What is undeniable is her exceptional intelligence and her insatiable thirst for knowledge. From a young age, she demonstrated an uncommon aptitude for languages, philosophy, and theology. Her uncle Fulbert, a canon at Notre Dame, recognized her talents and provided her with the best education available in Paris, a city fast becoming a center of learning. Héloïse quickly mastered Latin, Greek, and Hebrew, a rare feat for anyone at the time, let alone a young woman. She was known to be one of the most learned women in Europe. Her life took a dramatic and famously tragic turn when she began a secret relationship with Peter Abelard, the brilliant but controversial philosopher and theologian who was her tutor. This affair, which resulted in a child, brought scandal and severe punishment for Abelard. Héloïse, demonstrating immense courage and dignity, eventually took vows as a nun, choosing a life of religious devotion despite the personal pain and social upheaval she had endured. In 1129, a new chapter of power began for Héloïse. She was appointed Abbess of the Paraclete, a small community of nuns that had grown around an oratory established by Abelard in a desolate region of Champagne. This was not a pre-existing wealthy abbey. Paraclete was, in many ways, Héloïse's own creation, a community she molded and built from the ground up. Her leadership transformed it from a struggling foundation into a thriving and influential monastic house. This was a testament to her administrative genius and her visionary leadership. Héloïse's power as Abbess of the Paraclete was multifaceted. First, there was her intellectual authority. She was renowned across Europe for her scholarship. Monks, scholars, and churchmen sought her counsel on theological and philosophical matters. Her correspondence with Abelard, which became famous, reveals her deep understanding of scripture, canon law, and classical texts. This intellectual prowess commanded immense respect and drew many intelligent women to her community. Paraclete became a center of learning for women, a rare occurrence in an age when female education was often limited. Secondly, Héloïse exercised profound spiritual authority. She was not content with merely administering the abbey. She was deeply committed to reforming monastic life. She studied ancient monastic rules and corresponded with Abelard on the best way to live a truly devoted life. She developed new constitutions for the Paraclete, emphasizing spiritual poverty, communal living, and intellectual pursuits. Her rules were later adopted by other convents, extending her influence far beyond her own abbey. This ability to shape and define monastic practice showed her profound impact on the religious landscape of her time. Thirdly, her administrative skills were exceptional. Paraclete, though initially poor, grew under her careful management. She oversaw the acquisition of lands, the construction of buildings, and the efficient running of the community. She had to manage finances, resolve disputes among the nuns, and ensure the abbey's economic stability. Her letters show her practical approach to these challenges, proving her to be a highly competent and pragmatic leader. She skillfully navigated the complex relationship with the surrounding ecclesiastical authorities and local lords, ensuring the abbey's independence and protection. A remarkable aspect of her power was her ability to maintain a powerful, almost equal, intellectual relationship with Abelard, even after their separation and his own monastic entry. Their correspondence was not just personal, it was a profound exchange of ideas on theology, monasticism, and gender. She challenged his views, offered her own insights, and demonstrated a remarkable intellectual independence. This sustained intellectual partnership with one of the greatest thinkers of the age further cemented her reputation and influence. Heloise's life as Abbess of the Paraclete was a testament to her enduring strength and her capacity for leadership. She attracted women from noble and common backgrounds, creating a community known for its piety and its intellectual vibrancy. Her influence extended not through political maneuvering or royal connections, but through the sheer force of her intellect, her moral authority, and her exceptional leadership skills. She built a spiritual empire, not with armies or vast lands, but with wisdom, devotion, and a clear vision for monastic life. She passed away in 1164, leaving behind a legacy that inspired generations of women scholars and religious leaders, proving that true power can be found in the strength of one's mind and the dedication of one's spirit. Number 1. Saint Radegund, the queen who chose the veil and commanded kings. The 6th century in France was a brutal and turbulent time. The Roman Empire had collapsed, and fierce Germanic tribes were forging new kingdoms. The Franks, under their Merovingian kings, were consolidating their power, often through violence and cunning. Yet, in this raw, untamed landscape, a woman emerged who, though a queen, chose a different path, founding a religious community that would wield immense spiritual, political, and cultural power for centuries. This is the story of Saint Radegund, the queen who became a de facto abbess, a woman whose influence could command kings and shape the very foundations of the nascent French kingdom. Radegund was born around 520 CE, a Thuringian princess in what is now modern Germany. Her early life was marked by tragedy and upheaval. Her family was conquered by the Franks, and she was taken captive by King Clothar I, the ruthless son of Clovis, the first king of the Franks. Around 540, Clothar forced Radegund, then a young woman, to marry him, making her one of his several queens. This was a common practice for victorious kings, to consolidate power and territory through marriage. Despite her royal status, Radegund's life at court was difficult. Clothar was a volatile and violent man, and Radegund found no joy in her forced marriage. Her deep piety and charitable nature stood in stark contrast to the brutality of her surroundings. She used her position to care for the poor, the sick, and the imprisoned, showing a compassion that was rare in her time. Her personal acts of charity and devotion, even as a queen, began to establish her reputation as a holy woman. Turning point came when Clothar murdered her brother, her last remaining close relative. This horrific act severed her last ties to secular life. Radegund, emboldened by her faith and deeply distraught, confronted the king. In an astonishing display of courage and determination, She announced her intention to leave the court and dedicate her life to God. She sought the help of Bishop Medard of Noyon, a respected church leader, who, in a highly irregular move, consecrated her as a deaconess. This was a radical step for a queen, and it marked her formal separation from Clothar's dominion. With Clothar's reluctant permission, Radegund established a monastery for women in Poitiers. Around 550 CE, this was not just a simple convent. It was a powerful institution that became known as Sainte Croix, or the Holy Cross. Although she refused the title of abbess, choosing instead to live as a simple nun and obey the abbess she appointed, her influence and authority were undeniable. She was the founder, the patron, and the spiritual guiding force of the community. She was the one who set the rule, attracted the nuns, and ensured the monastery's survival and growth. For all practical purposes, she was its leader. Radegund's power was evident in several key ways. First, her spiritual authority was immense. She commanded respect, not only from her monastic community, but also from powerful church figures and secular rulers. Her reputation for holiness and asceticism, including her rigorous fasting and charitable works, made her a revered figure. People believed she had a direct line to God, and her prayers were sought by many. This spiritual capital gave her extraordinary moral leverage. Secondly, her political influence was profound. Even after leaving the throne, she maintained contact with kings and church leaders. She corresponded with her stepson, King Sigebert I, and his wife Brunhild, seeking their protection and patronage for Sainte Croix. She also famously negotiated with the Byzantine Emperor Justin II and Empress Sophia to acquire a relic of the True Cross for her monastery. This relic, a fragment believed to be from the cross of Jesus Christ, made Sainte Croix a major pilgrimage site and significantly boosted its prestige and wealth. Her ability to secure such a precious relic from the very heart of the Eastern Roman Empire showed her diplomatic skill and the respect she commanded on the international stage. Thirdly, she was a cultural patron and intellectual force. Radegund brought scholars and scribes to Sainte Croix, creating a vibrant center of learning and art. She commissioned the poet Venantius Fortunatus, a prominent writer of the age, to compose hymns and poems for her community. He also wrote her biography, giving us valuable insight into her life and influence. Under her guidance, Sainte Croix became a beacon of literacy and culture in a period often characterized as dark. The monastery scriptorium produced beautifully illuminated manuscripts, preserving knowledge and art. Fourthly, her institutional power was immense. Sainte Croix was not just a religious house. It was a significant landholder, managing estates and generating revenue. Radegund, through her guidance, ensured its economic stability and growth. She established a community that offered refuge, education, and spiritual guidance to women from various backgrounds, providing them with opportunities and a sense of purpose in a patriarchal society. The monastery became a safe haven and a powerful entity in its own right. Radegund died in 587 CE, and her tomb quickly became a site of pilgrimage. She was canonized as a saint shortly after her death, a testament to her profound impact. Her story shows how a woman, even one forced into a life she did not choose, could transform her circumstances into a platform for immense power. Radegund used her spiritual authority, her regal connections, and her unwavering determination to establish an institution that shaped religious life, influenced political affairs, and preserved culture in a foundational period of French history. She was a true pioneer, demonstrating that the veil could be a source of profound strength, not just quiet piety.